the most anticipated match of this whole
the most hyped up match of the evening that had it was pretty much a double-edged sword. Like, it was a sort of Damocles hanging over everyone's head. You can't really evade it or elude it. It's just, it was there. And it was going to drop either or, whether good or bad. And I'm going to be honest, we all know that it looked like 7 years has passed for CM Punk. And I actually watched the Slag Daddy's review, and he was like saying, it doesn't stand for CM Punk, doesn't stand for cardio machine. Like, yeah, CM Punk has always been a bit doughy, but the guy has been able to move in the ring. But you can tell he has a lot of ring rust.
Mm-hmm.
That even though he knew some moves, he was incredibly rusty. Darby Allin, good Lord, I don't know if he thinks that I think he's got his inspiration definitely from Jeff Hardy. No doubt. Jeff Hardy and Raven was his inspirations. That guy was, I thought he was going to die in some of the moves that he's done. From him just going head on speed into the post and just ricocheting off into the ground. Him doing the coffin drop and just straight up chest hitting the mat. I'm like, are you trying to kill yourself faster? Like, really? But it just seems like he was a bit destructive, but he was and chaotic, but that's his character. But then also with CM Punk, it was slow, but it was a reason why it was slow. CM Punk has a lot of ring rust, so Darby Allin had to balance that out. He did a good job with that.
Yeah, Darby had to carry Punk a lot this match because you could tell Punk's been not has wrestled in 7 years.
He was sweating more than Shane McMahon after it was done. I'm like, this guy is out of gas. You can tell it's been a long time since he wrestled. He was just dripping in sweat, like he had a bucket of water dumped on him. And I'm like, yeah, Darby kind of held up this match the whole time. And I know the finish, it's a double-edged sword. He was in Chicago. His entrance was already hyped up. People already had their emotions up. If they lost, they would have rioted. If he won, they would have been happy. Even though people saying Darby should have won, it was a match where they had no direction to go but to have him win. And I know
Prince is gonna have a run for us. I know.
I know already, but as much as I believe it should have been Darby, the fact that Darby got put over not just by Sting and by CM Punk, it shows that Darby didn't completely lose. He still got notoriety from one of the top guys. Oh, God.
House
Wade. Oh, Lord, he's doing they talking about House Wade.
I'm really wondering how. He got put over how? He got beat down by a dude that can't fight his way out of a wet paper bag.
You
How was that getting
put
put over?
his MMA record in here, man.
Actually, that part I'm not so sure about. Because everybody always talks about Brock Lesnar's MMA career.
Exactly.
We talk about pro wrestling.
I mean, I guess you got a point, but he's like 0-1. At least he knew when to quit.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar actually beat top people. Granted, past their prime.
What about Ronda Rousey? She ended up losing on her retirement match.
And didn't people complain? People complained when she first got there that she shouldn't be beating nobody because she got kicked in the face and made to do stanky leg. Didn't people complain about that shit?
No, actually, she was dominating her division. Then she got cocky against Holly Holm and got the Shin version of the Sweet Chin music upside the head. and then against Amanda Nunes, she put the Latino heat on her. She did everything but Players Club rape her in the ring.
Oh my gosh. No, don't.
Okay, I have to ask you this question. I know you didn't watch the match, but us three were going back and forth last night about two things about this match.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, the first thing we kind of know why that main event is now, considering what happened at the end with the main event. But let's say that didn't happen at the end. Would you have had this match with Punk and Darby Allin main event? That's the first question. And the second question, do you think Punk should have won this match, or you think Darby should have won this? Because
okay, let me answer the first one. Given that where it was in Chicago, it's kind of the same thing with Rock Hogan at WrestleMania 18. My answer to that is going to be the same as my answer to Rock Hogan. Should that have main evented? Hell yeah, it should have main evented. You know, that the whole the world champion should always be the main event. I would say 98 to 99% of the time, yes. But there's always that exception. I think Darby and Punk should have been the exception. Even with what happened what I heard happened in the AEW title match at the end. And honestly, I think they blew their load too soon with that, to be honest.
We'll get to that in a second, but yeah, so you think even if, let's say that didn't happen, you think that Punk and Darby should have main evented?
I think it just should have, even if it did.
Even if both of those, even if we know what happened, really?
Because honestly, what drew that house initially?
Punk.
Let's be honest.
Punk.
That's why I say with Rock Hogan and Triple H and everybody else can say what they want about WrestleMania 18. I always said Rock Hogan, even though Hulk Hogan's racist, crusty ass. But Hogan and Rock should have main evented. I mean, I may not like the person, but I'll never take away from his wrestling career. I mean, speaking for myself personally, going back to around then with WrestleMania 18, I didn't give a rat's behind about WrestleMania 18 until they announced that match. That match drew that house. I think whichever match, I don't care if it is the world champion they're defending. Whatever match drew that house should probably be the main event, in my personal opinion.
Okay. So what about the second question then? About
Who should have won?
Yeah, who would you have?
I understand why they had Punk go over. At least they let him keep his same ring music. But I understand why they had Punk go over. But personally, my gut would be, I would want, as a fan, for Darby to win. For Darby to go over. But I understand why they had Punk go over.
Okay. That Prince said that part I agree with. He doesn't agree with the main event situation about, because Prince was talking to me and Auntie Nays about the champion should always main event. That's what he believes. And but we have talked about this before. There are exceptions to that rule.
The only exception I'll give y'all was when Chris Flair's retired the match. Every other situation, the champ should have main evented. Every other one. I'll say that.
There's a few that
not Rock Hogan, man. Rock Hogan should have made it.
You know what? No. This is where it goes back to what I say. You put the aces in the right places, and you don't have to worry about this shit. If the top babyface or the top villain is holding the world title, you don't get in this situation. But when you just give the belt to anybody who's not the top heel or the top babyface, that's how you end up in this type of shit.
So you telling me that you think that Jericho, well, arguably you could say Jericho wasn't the top heel around 2000, 2002. Arguably he wasn't.
The Rock was the top babyface. If The Rock was the world champion, then Rock and Hogan would have main event. Easily. But
yeah,
put the aces in the right places, but they don't do that no more. And this is why
there have been a few times where a non-title match has main evented.
It has, but it should not have.
Title
should always be the main event.
I have to disagree.
When you're the champion is the man at the end of the day.
Prince.
Why is the man not the main event?
Prince. Let me tell you this. You remember CM Punk's World WWE Championship reign in 2012, right?
Yep, and it was bullshit because they didn't want to main event.
Exactly. How many times did he actually freaking main event?
We complained about it. Did we not complain about that?
Exactly my point. My freaking point. That's my point.
That's what I'm saying, and that's how titles get devalued when you put them on people who are not the top guys. The top guy, whether it's the top villain or the top babyface, should be holding that title, or the top anti-hero. But it should always be a top dog, not someone who's mid-tier, not somebody who's just still licking their chops. It should always be a top guy. That's how it should be. But they don't do it like that because we devalue titles so much. The man, whoever is the man, you're the guy, you're the Ric Flair of this era, you should be the fucking main event. That's how it should be.
Here's the thing, Prince. Like I said, WrestleMania has a history of non-title matches main eventing. And the one time, and I'm going to stick with that to my grave, the one time when I felt Rock and Hogan should have main evented, the one time they should have put a non-title match in the main event, they didn't do it. Other times when they have, that thing shouldn't have main evented. Like Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow, for example. WrestleMania 11. That should have not have main evented.
But we don't do that no more.
Hey, guys, we gonna have.
Yeah, we can go on all day about that.
Yeah, but let's.
That's what creates it. Like that's the root core problem. We can talk about the symptoms, but the root cause, the root problem is the aces are not in the right places anymore. Instead, it's okay for the number one guy to not be the world champion now for whatever reason. It's okay for the number one bad guy to not even be in the title picture no more. And that's how titles get devalued.
Okay, my question: do you want to talk about the Big Show match before we go to the main event?
We didn't even finish up with the Punk match.
Oh, okay.
That Punk match was basic, below basic CM Punk. It was straight for what it was and everything, man. But the wrong guy won. The wrong guy won that match, man. Punk gains nothing from beating Darby. Darby gained nothing from this match altogether. If someone can explain to me what he actually gained from it. Does he get a title shot? Does he get put in a tournament? He don't get shit from it, so I don't get why he accepted it. You know, he should have threw his dick on the table and told him to suck it. Unless they're going to give him a title match, Punk can kiss his ass. That's what he should have did. But he accepted it, so like Bianca Belair, if you dumb enough to accept the challenge, you dumb enough to get your ass whooped. So,
well, I'm not even going to start on Bianca Belair because we're going to go on forever.
Yeah, I'm not going to start on that. But
that's how I look at Darby's situation. Darby, I look at him the way the Godfather, he looked at that one dude and said, "You're dead to me now." Darby, you got beat by a dude who can't fight his way out of a wet paper bag.
Are we going to grade this match?
Okay.
I'm going to say this. I'm just going to say this, and then I'm going to go ahead and grade it. I'm going to see where this goes from here. The fact is that you have people who are at AEW now that understand where their role is and know who they are, and they're not trying to be above the new talent. It shows for the episodes that I have watched, and they've been consistent all the way through. They have them as mentors. But Laurel can correct me if I'm wrong.
Hey, I gotta correct you. You just said that they know that they're not. They just buried the two biggest young stars. Not buried overused. But then again, if this was an old guy in WWE doing
I wasn't talking about this pay-per-view. I was talking about something else. But like when they actually brought Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard into the fold. And how they were.
I'm gonna say this: they've used a better job. They've done a much better job with how they're using their legends, with using the legends like Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. Now the XWE talent, that's a conversation for a whole nother.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just gonna see where it goes from here. Before I go ahead and comment that okay, the WWE guys get top billing, I'm just gonna see where it goes with Darby from here. Mm-hmm. And then I'll probably agree with you if that's true.
If Darby Allin goes nowhere and he's not around the title picture after this, same thing with MJF. If MJF is just floating around doing nothing, then I'll agree with you that the WWE guys, the ex-WWE guys, they're getting all the top billing. I would agree with you. But I'm gonna see where it goes. I'll see where it goes, and if that turns out to be the case, then me and Auntie Nace will agree with you, Prince.
But for this match, I disagree with a lot of people giving it an A+ and an A. This match was not that great at all. Ooh, it was average. I would probably give it a C+ at least.
It's average to me.
This was an average match.
People are overrating it because it's Punk's first match back. That's the main
right. Reason. And the thing is, even though that's his first match back, and it's historic, and a lot of people agree this should have went on last. And I was the person that argued last night that it should have went on last.
And we just had an argument before.
We had an argument back and forth about that.
If y'all would have made Darby.
No, but I'm saying that
everyone
Prince was
loves the
talking
champion.
like it should be the title that goes last.
It
And we
should.
were like going back and forth with that all night.
Mhm.
But I'm still giving it a C plus. This was an average match. This was nothing that was like stellar 5-star or anything. And even though it's for an historic reference, the match itself was meh. You know, it was average.
Yeah, it was an average match to me. Yeah, people are gonna overhype because it's Punk's first match back. So, but the match overall was kind of just average to me. I would agree with you. It's probably like a C plus.
It was below average Punk match that Darby carried, bumping his ass off. I'm going just a solid C. I'm gonna go with solid C. But if the title was on Darby to begin with, because he's the top guy that everyone loves, if it was on him to begin with, we wouldn't have had that back and forth. If you put the ace in the right place, we wouldn't have had that conversation.
And also the fact that, but here's the thing, they're still keeping track of stats. So we also got to pay attention to that too, because Darby Allin, I think, is 22-2. While this is CM Punk's first match, and if CM Punk goes for the title, then yeah, that's the time when you criticize AEW, because that means the stats don't matter. So
Darby's a dumbass for accepting the match to begin with. You're 22-2, you got a good record, and you accept a fight that's not going to benefit you in no way.
Yeah.
A question before we move on.
Yeah.
Here's another dent in your argument about the championship main event. I agree with that. Like I said, 98 to 99% of the time, there's always that 1%. I'll give you another one. SummerSlam 2008. Neither the World Heavyweight Championship nor the WWE title was in the main event. Yet a non-title Hell in the Cell match was between The Undertaker and Edge.
All right. You're talking about, what was that, SummerSlam? What year?
2008.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That was the non-title.
I'll always argue that the title should go on last. If it's not going on last, then something ain't right. Something ain't right.
But
not in the top place.
Then again, look at who had it. A CM Punk who was on the rise, granted, against JBL in a world title match. And then you had Triple H, who it was a top guy. He's never really been the top guy, but he was a top guy. But look who he was facing.
The Great Khali. So you really want Great Khali in a main event? No.
But this goes back to you put the ace in the top place. It keeps going back to that. If you put the top babyface as the champion or the top villain as the champion, you don't be in these situations.
That's not always the case, though.
It is. If the top
never has been. Never has been. You go back and look at the whole history of wrestling. I don't care what organization it is. There have been exceptions.
But here, okay, we're going back and forth.
The title was not on something.
It's all day, man.
Well, here's the thing. Should we even rate or even give a grade for the Paul White match?
No.
In my opinion, this match is a skip.
Yeah.
This match was a bathroom break for a reason.
Skip it if you can, y'all.
Yeah, I think we should skip this match. It's not even worth
talk about it.
All right, let's go.
It did what it was supposed to do. It gave you a piss break.
Yeah, it was a bathroom
pretty
break.
much.